Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Paula's Kitchen Season 3, and we are on episode 2 today. I felt summery, as you can tell. We are going to do a very summery recipe today. It's peach bourbon upside down cake. I got it from the Southern Living website, so of course you know that means you're going to use a lot of butter. You're going to use wonderful southern peaches. In this case, I think they're California. And we're also going to use some bourbon for flavoring. All right, let's take a look at our ingredients. We're going to do everything out of your pantry. We're going to do flour, sugar, brown sugar, and powdered sugar because we're going to put a little glaze on top of the cake. We are going to use almost a pound of butter, some cream cheese, salt, vanilla, the bourbon as I mentioned, 4 peaches, and 6 eggs. However, before we get started, I just want to say, go Knights go. They're in the playoffs this week, our beloved Golden Knights, and welcome to Studio K. Let's get started. There's one little step we need to do with the stove for assembling our cake, but first let me run over and start the oven. This big kitchen of mine, I can't do it all in one spot anymore. There's a bunch of walking involved. Let's see, temperature 325, and we'll get that preheating. Alrighty, and back to the stove. Really simple thing we need to do as our first step of prep. I need 1/4 cup of butter and 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and we're simply going to melt that together. Let me get rid of that. And this is fresh brown sugar because we all know, those of us that work with brown sugar, if you keep it for even a few months, it just hardens up and gets tough to work with. All right, so this is gonna go over some medium-low heat. I'm gonna melt that butter and I'm going to whisk this constantly until it makes a lovely little sugary sauce. Doesn't take long for that brown sugar and butter to turn into wonderfulness. What do you see what we're going to do with this? It's really fun. Notice I have my Bundt pan standing by on the other burner here, and it has been prepped. I actually used a shortening to generously grease it. You can also use Pam cooking spray, whatever you have. So as you can see, this is melting, and what we're going to do is coat the inside of my Bundt pan with this wonderful sugary buttery mixture. There we go. I always like to choose recipes for you that I think are visually interesting or have a step that is unusual, and this is definitely going to be one of those, because after I coat my Bundt pan, you'll see an interesting little trick we're going to do with the peaches. All right, I'm happy with that. It looks beautifully mixed. I'm going to turn the fire off on that guy. All right, here we go. We're going to coat the Bundt pan with the brown sugar. Now, it's not really staying, of course, because I greased it, but it's going to sit in the bottom. And remember, this is an upside down cake, so hopefully we're going to have fabulous results when we're done. Alrighty, we are done at the stove. I'm gonna head back over to the island. See you in a sec. Here we are at my work area. I brought my Bundt pan over and I started my peaches. What I need to do with the 4 peaches is they need to be peeled and each one cut into quarters. So I've done 2 of them already. Now the thing about them is, it is early in the season. It's only May, so they're not super duper soft and sweet. But I have a feeling once we dip them in the butter and brown sugar, that's not going to be a problem. And this will be peach number 4. They smell just like summertime. We had a house here in Las Vegas earlier on that had an apricot tree in the backyard. It was paradise to just pull one off the tree and eat it. All right, so when all's said and done, you end up with 16 pieces of peach. And what we're going to do with them, move this off to the side, we are going to insert them in the brown sugar butter mixture in all the crevices, and I'm going to keep my paring knife handy because I might be, I've never made this before, as you know. These are always discoveries, and I might be trimming some of these slices to fit in the spots in between. Oh, there's one right there. There's one right there. And the beauty of this cake is, of course, when you do the reveal, when we take it out of the pan and turn it upside down, we certainly hope these peach slices will cover the whole entire top of the cake. So my slices were so big I can't even use 16 of them. I'm actually using lucky 13. All right, that's it. I'm going to set this aside and we are going to make cake batter. Ladies and gentlemen, I pulled out my trusty Sunbeam mixer. We are going to make some cake batter. First up, we're going to put 3 sticks of softened butter in our mixing bowl. There's 1 and 2, 3, and then we are going to use a whole 8-ounce package of cream cheese as well. Alrighty, now let's cream together the butter and the cream cheese. All right. That never takes very long, just about a minute or so. I have a 1.5 cups of white sugar and a 1.5 cups of brown sugar going in. Some nice, fresh, crumbly brown sugar. So let's do that. It's amazing how the volume increases immediately as soon as you put the sugar in. All right, and then I'm going to crumble in my brown sugar, 1.5 cups. Now this needs a good beating, 3 to 5 minutes on this.
Now I'm going to add 6 eggs, one at a time, and mix just until each one is incorporated. And then 1 teaspoon of vanilla. That's all for my wet ingredients.
I'm glad to shut that off. How about you? That's it on the wet ingredients. Give me a moment to clean up and we're going to do the next step. Move my mixer aside. I have my wet ingredient batter. Cameraman Dale just came around and said, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" I said, "It's rich and fabulous." Now, the dry ingredients are very simple. It is 3 cups of flour sifted with a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's it. And then, of course, the piece de resistance. I picked up some Maker's Mark, a 2-ounce bourbon, and we're going to add that alternately with the flour. So this is so incredibly light and fluffy, this batter. I can't even believe it. So let me just get some of the flour in there. And we always do these in thirds or thereabouts. So this is so light and fluffy, it's very easy to work with. Some of you have noticed the spurtle that I got from Allie in Texas and asked where it came from. You realize how incredibly useful and versatile this tool is. I hardly ever use a spatula anymore. I just always find myself reaching for this tool. Alrighty, that is the first batch of flour. So let's put a little bit of my bourbon in here. $6 for this little guy. We have Scotch galore in our cabinets, but we don't have any bourbon. Ooh, smells luscious. Let me check my recipe while I'm stirring. It simply says, add it alternately with bourbon and flour, bourbon and flour. Okay.
As instructed, here goes my sifted flour mixture in, and notice that I'm using a folding technique on this light batter. And then my bourbon, same thing, just fold it in.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this batter is about ready. Wow, it's incredible. Next up, I'm going to pull my Bundt pan over and we're going to put this cake together. Moment of truth. Let's see what we can do with this fabulous batter. You may have noticed in the last clip I hadn't actually put all of the bourbon in it. I wasn't sure, but it actually was 2 ounces, so I went ahead and dumped it all in. We shall see. I am thinking that I may not use all this batter because I certainly don't want the cake to overflow my pan. So now the instructions say once you have it in the pan that you should level it before putting it in the oven. So I may be at the stage where I do that leveling step. And I'm just going to use the old finger because sometimes that just works best. All right, I think we're about good to go on this. Let me clean my hands off and we'll put this in the oven. Here we go. Going in the oven, 325 for, believe it or not, an hour and a half. This is a very dense cake. You wouldn't believe how heavy this cake pan is. So in the oven we go. We're going to take an hour and a half break and we will see you when time's up. Cake is done.
Next step, folks, is a cool down in the pan on a rack for about 20 minutes or so until we can handle it.
Well, I think it's only been about 10 minutes, but I'm able to actually hold the handles on my Bundt pan, so I'm going to flip this over because I think the hotter that brown sugar topping is when I flip, the better the results are going to be. So wish me luck. Woo! Remember I told you this is a very heavy cake. It is very heavy. I did loosen it from the sides.
Woo. Oh my gosh.
The reveal.
Look at that.
Oh, I lost one peach. Okay, this is really a thrill. Wow, look you guys. It came out beautiful. Okay. It has to cool totally and completely, and then I'm going to drizzle the powdered sugar, and we are going to have peach bourbon upside down cake. Big thumbs up, I'm excited. Here we are. Things are cool enough to touch, and I think I'm going to go ahead and make just this little glaze. Really simple glaze. I've got 1 cup of powdered sugar. I've got a couple tablespoons of milk, and I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of vanilla to flavor it, and that's it. Just a real simple little glaze. So let me start with a little bit of the milk. You always have to be light-handed with these liquids because your glaze ends up too runny very quickly. So just give this a little stir, and then I'm going to throw in my vanilla flavoring as well, which is another source of liquid. This cake smells amazing. We're very much looking forward to sampling it. All right, there's my half teaspoon of vanilla. A little stir again. Whoops. And I'm definitely going to need more of that milk. Let me just go ahead with that. Then I'm just going to drizzle. All right, let's do this thing. Bring the cake over and let's pour. Coming out just like the picture on Southern Living. And of course I'll share that with you in the description box. The link to the recipe, as well as I'll just provide the recipe itself. That's it, folks. It's ready to be served. Peach bourbon upside down cake. here we are, the moment of truth. We finally get to sit down. This has been a long day because there was a lot of wait time in between everything.
This was actually one of the longest shoots we've ever done.
Yeah, because there was so much wait time for all the different steps on the cake.
We started this at like 9 or 10 in the morning.
We started set up at 9 in the morning.
And
yeah.
it's now a 3:15 for a Bundt cake.
Yeah. That's the unreality of filming something like a cake.
So I think my camera down here is going to pick this up. I am going to take a bite and see. Boy, it smells great.
Yeah, you be first. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, there we go.
Tell me if you can taste the bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh. Boy, is that moist.
Yeah, I
Wow.
knew it would be. And that's, when you bake something for an hour and a half, you know it's going to be super moist. Let me try. Wow.
I just want a piece of this peach, or whatever it is.
That is rich and decadent. Not super sweet, which I'm surprised because it's got a bunch of sugar. It's just the right balance of sweetness. And the bourbon is just not even, hardly there, really. Wow, I gotta eat a peach too.
That's a winner. We got a little iced tea to go with it.
In fact, it's Snapple
Oh, it's
peach
iced tea. I've never had that. It tasted just like that.
All right, future Paula, I do have to say one thing. Remember about the volume of the cake, that it seemed like there was more batter than there was pan. Turned out to be true. When I went back and double checked the recipe, it called for a 10.5-inch Bundt pan. My Bundt pan is 9.5 inches. I've had it for a long time, so perhaps they're making them bigger now. But anyway, that's why all my batter didn't work. But, so just FYI, if you're gonna make this, make sure your pan is big enough.
All right, I think we did pretty good. This is Paul's Kitchen number 2. I tried a lot of different things here. We'll find out in this edit how well we did. It was quite different, right?
And quite challenging, but we will continue to perfect. And hopefully you enjoyed the making of the cake. And trust me, we are going to enjoy the eating of the cake.
All right.
It is amazing.
Okay, I hope you had a good time. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.